Think Like Money, Your Beliefs Shape Your Bank Account Upgrade Both. Written by Ronnie Rowland. Published by Growth Literacy Lounge. You've been taught that money is earned, that it comes from hours clocked, deals closed, and promotions won. But what if that's only half the truth? What if money isn't just something you get, but something you become aligned with? Every day, you operate from a set of financial beliefs you didn't consciously choose. You check your account balance with hesitation. You feel guilt for wanting more, shame when spending, or anxiety when receiving. Not because you're flawed, but because you're following a script. One inherited, absorbed, and never questioned. And that script has a cost. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are. Dr. Wayne Dyer. This book isn't about budgeting apps or investment hacks. It's about something deeper, your mental economy. Because how you think about money determines how you interact with it. Every financial decision begins in the space between your ears. If you want to shift your bank account, you must shift your beliefs. Inside these pages, you'll discover how to stop chasing money and start channeling it, not by working harder, but by thinking differently. You'll learn to model money's movement, fluid, intentional, unapologetic. You'll dissolve scarcity, rewrite your inner balance sheet, and finally match your outer wealth with inner worth. This is not just a book. It's a mirror. A challenge. A re-education. If you're ready to upgrade both your mindset and your money, read on. It's time to think like money. And money, as you'll soon see, thinks expansively. Chapter 1. The Silent Script. Before money ever shows up in your wallet, it shows up in your worldview. Long before the first paycheck, credit card, or savings account, a quiet script begins to run. It's invisible but powerful, shaping every decision you make about earning, spending, saving, and sharing. Most people don't even realize they're following it. Yet this unseen pattern acts like an operating system for your financial life, determining how much peace, opportunity, and possibility you allow yourself to experience with money. Think of a child watching parents at the kitchen table. The conversation may not be about the child, but every sigh over a bill, every argument about a purchase, every whispered worry becomes part of that child's mental download. By the time adulthood arrives, the lines of the script are already memorized. Money is scarce. I'm not good with money. Having more means taking from others. These beliefs feel like facts. But they're not facts. They're filters. Money itself has no script. It doesn't flinch when balances drop or blush when deposits arrive. It flows, pauses, shifts, and grows. It responds to circulation, not shame. When your inner story mirrors money's movement, fluid, intentional, unapologetic, you create new possibilities. You stop confusing lack with identity and start recognizing that scarcity is just a story someone else handed you. This book begins here because awareness is leverage. Once you see the script, you can revise it. Once you revise it, your financial behaviors shift almost automatically. You're no longer reacting from inherited fear but responding from chosen intention. Your financial life follows an invisible script you didn't write. These beliefs act as filters, not facts, shaping your money reality. Awareness is the first step to rewriting your inner economy. Which money messages from childhood still echo in your decisions today? List 3 recurring thoughts you have about money. Mark each as either asset empowering or liability limiting. Chapter 2. If Money Could Talk. Imagine sitting across from money at a table. Not a pile of bills or numbers on a screen, but money as a living presence, confident, calm, unhurried. It doesn't apologize for its value. It doesn't hoard, shrink, or panic. It expands. It listens. It moves with purpose. If money could talk, it wouldn't say, "There's never enough." It would say, "There's always more where that came from." Now compare that to how most people speak and think about money. Stress over rising expenses. Guilt over wanting more. Hesitation to invest in themselves. They treat money like a threat instead of a tool, a burden instead of a mirror. But the truth is, money isn't judging anyone. It's simply responding to energy, to belief, to intention. Money, if it had a voice, would sound like growth. It would speak in terms of circulation, expansion, and contribution. It would ask, where am I being of use? Where can I do the most good? How can I flow where there's alignment, not just need? It wouldn't obsess over lack. It would seek movement. This chapter isn't about magical thinking. It's about modeling. Because when your mindset mirrors money's nature, you unlock access. You stop trying to control it through fear and start channeling it through clarity. Think of a river, dammed up by worry, it stagnates. Directed by purpose, it nourishes. One entrepreneur shifted everything in her business when she asked, "What would money do in this situation?" Instead of pulling back during a slow season, she invested in better systems. Within months, revenue doubled. Not because of luck, but because she matched money's mindset, forward, fluid, focused. You don't need to become money. But you can learn from its nature. You can adopt its posture, confident, generous, expanding. Because ultimately, money doesn't just follow effort. It follows energy. And the clearer, calmer, and more aligned your thinking becomes, the more your finances begin to reflect that frequency. If money could speak, it would focus on circulation, not scarcity. Mirroring money's mindset opens new pathways for growth. Energy, not just effort, shapes how money responds to you. If money were watching your choices this week, what would it say about how you think and move? Write down the phrase, "What would money do?" and use it to guide one decision today. Chapter 3: Inherited Wealth Wounds. You weren't born afraid of money. You weren't born thinking you had to hustle for worth or apologize for wanting more. Those thoughts were passed down, absorbed, not chosen. And unless they're examined, they become the default settings of your financial life. Wealth wounds are emotional imprints left by the financial environments you grew up in. Sometimes they're loud and traumatic: bankruptcy, foreclosure, layoffs, or watching parents argue over bills. But more often, they're subtle. A parent refusing to talk about money. A teacher saying you'll never be rich. Hearing, "We can't afford that." So often it feels like a law of gravity. These moments may seem small, but over time they compound, just like interest. They form limiting scripts that sound logical but are deeply harmful. Money is stressful. I'm bad with money. People like me don't get ahead. These aren't truths, they're inherited limitations. And they keep you operating in financial survival mode long after the original situation has passed. Research from financial psychologists shows that most people carry what's called a money script, unconscious beliefs about money formed before age 10. These scripts influence financial decisions for a lifetime unless consciously rewritten. One client grew up hearing, "You have to work twice as hard to have half as much." She became a high achiever, but always felt anxious, like wealth would slip through her fingers. Once she realized that belief wasn't hers, everything changed. She didn't just make more money. She kept more of it. Breaking generational cycles doesn't begin with blame. It begins with awareness. Your parents or caregivers likely did the best they could with what they had. They passed on what they knew. Now, it's your turn to question what still belongs. Some beliefs are financial antiques, kept out of habit, not truth. This work is not just personal. It's generational. When you identify and heal your wealth wounds, you're not just freeing yourself. You're rewriting the narrative for those who come after you. You become the turning point. It takes courage to look back, not to dwell, but to understand. To see where your fear of money came from. To name the moment you first felt unworthy of wealth. To recognize how scarcity crept into your story. And then, to choose differently. To replace inherited fear with intentional belief. You are not doomed to repeat your financial past. You are allowed to prosper beyond your upbringing. The wounds may have been passed down, but the healing starts with you. Wealth wounds are inherited beliefs formed from early financial experiences. These beliefs shape your current financial behavior unless challenged. You have the power to rewrite your money story and shift the generational pattern. What's one memory from childhood that shaped how you feel about money today? Write a letter. You don't have to send it to the person or system that shaped your earliest money beliefs. Thank them, then release what no longer serves you. Chapter 4: Scarcity is a system. Scarcity doesn't start in your bank account. It starts in your environment. Before it becomes a belief, it's a message. And in today's world, that message is everywhere, in advertising, news cycles, education systems, and even well-meaning conversations. We are taught, subtly and persistently, to brace for not enough. From a young age you hear it. Save for a rainy day. Money doesn't grow on trees. Be grateful for what you have. While caution and gratitude have their place, the undertone is clear. Lack is normal, abundance is suspicious. Over time, these messages compound, creating a mindset where playing small feels responsible and wanting more feels greedy. Scarcity, in this context, isn't just a feeling, it's a system. It's built into how we talk, plan, and even dream. It's the default setting. And the danger is not just that it limits what you believe is possible, it limits what you believe you deserve. This system creates fear around money movement. You hesitate to invest in yourself, delay key decisions, and second-guess opportunities. Even when money does come in, the scarcity mindset whispers, "Don't get used to it." So you don't. You pull back. You contract. You make decisions from protection, not expansion. And in doing so, you reinforce the very lack you're trying to avoid. But here's the truth: scarcity thrives in secrecy. The moment you name it, you disrupt it. When you recognize that the fear is not yours, it's inherited, marketed, embedded, you take back your power. You realize that playing small doesn't keep you safe. It keeps you stuck. One man grew up hearing that success meant stepping on others. So, every time he got ahead, he felt guilt. It wasn't until he reframed wealth as a way to serve, not dominate, that he allowed himself to keep what he earned. His mindset shifted from survival to stewardship. Scarcity is not always about lacking money. Sometimes it's about lacking permission to grow, to expand, to receive. It's the voice that says, "You shouldn't want more," even when more would mean greater impact, security, or generosity. That voice doesn't come from truth. It comes from conditioning. You don't have to opt into the scarcity system. You can choose a different economy, one built on clarity, abundance, and alignment. This doesn't mean reckless spending or blind optimism. It means decisions grounded in purpose, not panic. It means asking, "Does this reflect trust or fear?" and acting accordingly. Escaping the scarcity system is less about accumulating more and more about allowing more. Allowing peace with money. Allowing growth without guilt. Allowing yourself to believe that wealth and integrity can coexist. When you exit the scarcity system, you don't just upgrade your finances. You upgrade your identity. You stop asking, "What do I need to survive?" and start asking, "What am I here to expand?" That's when money begins to respond not just to what you earn, but to who you've become. Scarcity is a system embedded in culture, not just a personal belief. This mindset limits what you allow yourself to receive, not just what you pursue. Naming and rejecting the scarcity system is the first step to financial freedom. Where in your life are you shrinking out of fear, rather than choosing from trust? Identify one belief you've accepted about money that stems from fear, and rewrite it as a statement of trust and abundance. Chapter 5: The Belief Balance Sheet. Every financial statement tells a story. But the most important one isn't printed on paper or tracked in an app, it lives inside your mind. It's your belief balance sheet. On one side, assets, the empowering thoughts that create expansion. On the other, liabilities, the limiting beliefs that restrict growth. The numbers in your bank account are often the echo of this inner equation. Assets sound like, "I am capable of creating value. Money flows where I grow. There's always more opportunity ahead." These beliefs create openness. They lead to action, clarity, and calm. You're more likely to take risks aligned with your purpose, ask for what you're worth, and invest where it matters. You operate from sufficiency, not stress. Liabilities, by contrast, are mental blocks disguised as facts. There's never enough. I'm bad with money. I'm not the kind of person who succeeds financially. These thoughts drain energy. They trigger hesitation, fear, or avoidance. And over time, they become self-fulfilling. Not because they're true, but because they're repeated. Your belief balance sheet isn't fixed. It's fluid, just like money itself. But to change it, you must first see it. One business owner realized her liability belief was hiding in plain sight. She always undercharged. Not because her service lacked value, but because she believed people wouldn't pay more. Once she rewrote that line item, replacing "clients won't pay me" with "clients invest in transformation," her pricing, confidence, and income rose in sync. Audit your beliefs like you would your finances. Ask, does this belief serve me? Does it move me toward expansion or contraction? If it were a financial asset, would I keep it or trade it? Unlike numbers, beliefs carry emotion. A single limiting thought can ripple across every area of life, from relationships to career. That's why shifting beliefs is more than mindset work, it's soul work. It's choosing alignment over autopilot. It's saying, I'm willing to upgrade what I believe about money, even if it makes me uncomfortable. This process isn't about pretending. It's about repositioning. Replacing outdated scripts with accurate, empowering ones. Not, I'll be a millionaire tomorrow. But, I trust myself to grow into abundance. Not, I never have enough. But, I'm learning to steward more with peace. Think of beliefs as levers. Some accelerate your growth. Others stall it. Every time you choose a new belief aligned with clarity and value, you shift your trajectory. You build momentum. You create space for new results to appear, not through magic, but through mental alignment. The numbers may take time to reflect the shift, but the process starts instantly. The moment you choose an asset belief over a liability one, you move toward freedom. Not just financial freedom, identity freedom. Because how you think about money is how you think about yourself. Wealth doesn't start in strategy. It starts in story. And the story you tell yourself about money will either limit you or lift you. The belief balance sheet makes that story visible, and once you see it, you can write a better one. Your inner belief balance sheet determines your outer financial behavior. Empowering beliefs are assets. Limiting beliefs are liabilities. Rewriting your money story begins by identifying and upgrading your mental line items. Which belief on your current balance sheet is costing you the most growth, and what would its opposite sound like? List 3 financial assets and 3 liabilities in your mindset. Keep the assets visible this week, and challenge the liabilities with one counteraction each. Chapter 6: Self-worth equal net worth. There's a quiet connection between how you see yourself and how you see your bank account. It's not always about skills, effort, or timing. Sometimes it's about worth, not just what you're paid, but what you believe you deserve. Because self-worth sets the ceiling for net worth. If you feel unworthy of wealth, you'll subconsciously repel it, block it, or sabotage it when it arrives. Many people assume money is only about external strategies, budgets, investments, income streams. And while those tools matter, they're only as effective as the mindset using them. If your inner narrative says you're not valuable, you'll undercharge, overwork, or avoid growth opportunities. You'll mistake burnout for productivity and confuse struggle with virtue. This isn't about ego. It's about energetic alignment. When your self-worth is low, money feels unsafe. Receiving feels suspicious. You might think, who am I to have more? What if it goes away? What will people think? So you shrink. You stay quiet when you should speak up. You say yes when you want to say no. You settle when expansion is waiting. But when your self-worth rises, so does your financial reality. You make cleaner decisions. You set clearer boundaries. You stop leaking energy into guilt and start channeling it into growth. You recognize that wealth isn't just what you accumulate, it's what you allow. Consider someone who always kept their rates low, not because of market demand, but because of inner doubt. They feared rejection, so they pre-rejected themselves. Once they began to separate identity from pricing and anchored in the value they delivered, everything shifted. They didn't just raise their rates. They raised their self-respect. Net worth follows self-worth because money mirrors belief. If you believe you're a burden, you'll fear being compensated. If you believe your voice doesn't matter, you'll hesitate to negotiate. But if you believe your presence adds value, you'll invite value in return, not with arrogance, but with grounded clarity. This doesn't mean inflating your ego. It means rooting your worth in something deeper than performance. You are not what you earn. But what you earn is often shaped by how you perceive your own value, not in the eyes of others in your own. And here's the deeper truth: self-worth isn't something you earn. It's something you uncover. Beneath the layers of comparison, criticism, and conditioning is a steady, unshakable sense of value. The more connected you are to that core, the less you rely on money to prove your worth, and ironically, the more money flows to match it. When you value yourself, you stop trading time for crumbs. You start asking better questions. Not what's the minimum I can get by with, but what would it look like to live fully resourced, supported, and aligned? That shift alone changes how you show up, in business, in relationships, in life. The numbers matter, yes. But the number that changes everything isn't in your bank account. It's the one in your mind, the invisible limit you've set for what you're allowed to receive. Change that, and the rest follows. Self-worth silently determines how much wealth you allow yourself to receive. Low self-worth leads to undercharging, overgiving, and missed opportunities. True financial growth begins with believing you are inherently valuable. Where have you been undervaluing yourself, and how has that shown up in your money life? Identify one area where you've been playing small financially. Make a bold move this week to honor your worth, raise a rate, set a boundary, or ask for more. Chapter 7: Money moves where you grow. Money doesn't just follow effort, it follows expansion. It flows toward clarity, confidence, and courage. And it tends to pause where there's hesitation, fear, or contraction. Growth, not grind, is what opens financial channels. When you grow, money knows. It's drawn to alignment like gravity. Many people believe they have to chase money. So they hustle harder, pile on pressure, and wear exhaustion like a badge of honor. But the real shift comes when you realize that money is not a prize to pursue, it's a partner that responds to who you're becoming. The more you grow internally, the more your capacity to hold, manage, and multiply money expands externally. Growth doesn't always look like a big breakthrough. Sometimes it's quiet and steady, learning a new skill, setting a boundary, saying no to what's out of alignment. These small inner upgrades signal something powerful: I'm ready for more. And money, like a current, begins to flow toward the open space you've created. One woman shifted her financial life not by landing a higher-paying job, but by finally owning her voice. For years, she stayed silent in meetings, afraid to be seen. The moment she began contributing with confidence, she was noticed, valued, and promoted. Her income rose not because she tried harder, but because she grew bolder. Money doesn't need more of your struggle. It needs more of your growth. When you avoid the necessary evolution, the healing, the stretching, the releasing, you delay the very abundance you desire. But when you move toward your next level, money often meets you there. This is why investing in yourself is one of the most powerful wealth-building moves you can make. Not just financially, but energetically. It says, I believe in my growth. Whether it's learning, healing, or upgrading your environment, these decisions shift your internal economy, and your external one begins to follow. Of course, growth can feel risky. It asks you to release comfort, confront fear, and trust what you can't yet see. But so does staying stuck. The difference is that growth gives you a return. Not always instantly, but inevitably. Because when you grow, you change the quality of decisions you make, and those decisions shape your financial outcomes. There's a reason stagnation feels so heavy. You weren't meant to stay small. You were built to expand, in wisdom, in courage, in value. And money is simply one of the ways that expansion takes form. Not as proof of your worth, but as a resource that responds to it. If you want more wealth, ask less about what you should do, and more about who you must become. When you become the kind of person who stewards wisely, leads courageously, and chooses clarity over comfort, money flows more freely. Not as a reward but as a reflection. Growth isn't optional if you want financial change. It's the gateway. And every stretch you make becomes an invitation, not just for more income, but for deeper alignment. Money follows growth more than effort, expansion attracts circulation. Small inner shifts can unlock significant financial change. Investing in your own development is one of the most powerful wealth strategies. What area of growth have you been avoiding, and how might leaning into it open new financial doors? Choose one area of personal growth you've been delaying. Take one concrete step today to move forward. Invest time, energy, or focus into that expansion. Chapter 8: Shame-Free Spending. Money is emotional. Every dollar you spend carries not just a price, but a story. And for many, that story is laced with guilt, fear, or second-guessing. You feel guilty when you spend on yourself, ashamed when you indulge, anxious when you invest. Even small purchases can trigger a quiet voice that says, "You shouldn't." That voice isn't about math, it's about meaning. It's shame masquerading as responsibility. But responsible doesn't mean restrictive. And shame doesn't make you wiser with money, it just makes you afraid of it. When spending becomes a moral battleground, every transaction feels like a test of worth. You question your decisions, your desires, even your identity. And over time, you start to believe that money is the problem, when really, it's the unspoken judgments around money that need healing. Spending is not the enemy. Unconscious spending is. When you don't understand your motivations or feel disconnected from your values, money leaks without alignment. But when you spend with intention, rooted in clarity and grounded in truth, money becomes an extension of who you are, not a source of shame. Consider someone who grew up hearing, "We don't spend on things we don't need." As an adult, she felt guilt every time she bought something for pleasure, even if she could afford it. Once she reframed spending as a reflection of alignment, not indulgence, she stopped asking, "Do I deserve this?" and started asking, "Does this reflect who I'm becoming?" Shame-free spending isn't reckless. It's responsible, but from a place of empowerment. It means giving yourself full permission to enjoy, invest, and circulate money in ways that support your values, your well-being, and your growth. It's choosing to see spending not as a punishment or a reward, but as a practice, one that reflects trust in yourself. This trust grows when you get clear on your values. When you know what matters most, you stop trying to impress others or soothe unhealed parts of yourself through consumption. You begin to spend in ways that reinforce your identity, not replace your insecurity. That's the difference between alignment and avoidance. You also stop judging others. When you've released your own shame, you no longer need to measure someone's character by their purchases. You understand that money flows differently for everyone. What looks excessive to one person may be expansion for another. And you give yourself the same grace. Releasing shame doesn't mean abandoning wisdom. It means trusting your internal guidance more than external approval. It means acknowledging that joy is a worthy investment. That rest, beauty, and delight aren't luxuries, they're part of living fully resourced. And when you spend from that place, money doesn't disappear. It circulates. It blesses. It returns. If your spending feels tight, not just financially but emotionally, pause and listen. Ask, is this guilt mine? Is this fear mine? Or are these inherited beliefs that no longer serve me? Every time you replace shame with clarity, you reclaim your power. You move from reaction to intention. You stop apologizing for your desires and start honoring your design. Money, when spent with purpose, becomes a tool for liberation. And there's no freedom in shame. Only restriction. Let it go. Shame distorts spending and disconnects you from financial peace. Conscious, values-based spending creates empowerment, not guilt. Releasing shame allows money to become a tool of alignment and intention. Where in your life do you feel guilt when spending, and what belief is fueling that emotion? Choose one upcoming purchase and spend intentionally, not out of guilt or impulse, but with joy, clarity, and alignment. Chapter 9: Inner Income First. Not all wealth is visible. Some of the most valuable forms of income can't be deposited in a bank or tracked on a spreadsheet. Peace, clarity, confidence, and purpose, these are the inner currencies that shape your outer reality. When you prioritize inner income, your financial life begins to rise in response. Not because of magic, but because your decisions gain power, your direction gains focus, and your energy gains integrity. Most people are chasing money without building the inner infrastructure to hold it. They're seeking external wealth from a place of internal poverty, burnout, scattered, or afraid. And even when money comes, it slips through their hands. Not because they're undisciplined, but because they haven't yet developed the capacity to sustain it. Inner income is the foundation that holds financial increase. Peace allows you to make decisions without panic. Clarity helps you see through noise and choose alignment. Confidence keeps you from shrinking when opportunity knocks. Purpose gives your wealth direction, turning gain into impact. Without these, money brings more pressure than freedom. One entrepreneur tripled her income in a year, and almost walked away from it. The growth came fast, but her inner world couldn't keep up. Anxiety, imposter syndrome, and decision fatigue left her exhausted. When she paused to rebuild her inner economy, setting boundaries, refining her vision, and protecting her peace, her income stabilized, and so did her well-being. This isn't just about balance. It's about bandwidth. Wealth without inner income creates overwhelm. You feel stretched thin, reactive, or disconnected. But when your inner life is strong, money becomes a resource, not a ruler. It supports you instead of defining you. Building inner income is not passive work. It requires intention. You cultivate peace by learning to say no without guilt. You gain clarity by simplifying, not complicating. You grow confidence by keeping promises to yourself. You nurture purpose by listening deeply to what truly matters and letting that guide your actions. None of these inner assets require external permission. You don't need a bigger paycheck to choose peace. You don't need a perfect plan to get clear. You don't need a title to feel worthy. These are decisions you can make now, and as you do, you create a structure that can hold more wealth with less stress. When your inner income grows, so does your discernment. You stop chasing every opportunity and start choosing the right ones. You stop overextending and start operating from overflow. You spend with intention, earn with purpose, and give with joy. Money becomes a mirror of your inner abundance, not a mask for your fears. There is a version of wealth that doesn't require burnout. There is a way to prosper without pressure. But it starts within. Not in spreadsheets or strategy, but in the quiet work of self-trust, vision, and emotional fluency. If your outer financial life feels stuck, don't just look at income. Look at your inner reserves. Are you grounded? Are you clear? Are you at peace? If not, that's where the work begins. Because money can only meet you where you're willing to meet yourself. Grow your inner income, and your outer wealth will have something real to rest on. Inner income, peace, clarity, confidence, purpose is foundational to sustainable wealth. Outer money without inner strength leads to burnout or chaos. Strengthening your inner economy expands your capacity to earn, hold, and grow wealth. Where in your life is a lack of inner income limiting your financial clarity or peace? Choose one inner currency to build this week: peace, clarity, confidence, or purpose, and take one daily action to strengthen it. Chapter 10: The Wealth Alignment Equation. Wealth without alignment is just noise. It may look good on paper, but if it conflicts with your values, drains your energy, or compromises your peace, it isn't wealth, it's weight. True wealth is not just a matter of what you accumulate, but how aligned your money is with who you are. When your finances, values, and vision move in harmony, you stop striving and start flowing. That's the wealth alignment equation. Most people live in conflict with their money. They earn in ways that exhaust them, spend to escape their lives, and save out of fear. Their bank account may grow, but their life shrinks. That's not abundance. That's misalignment. And misalignment always comes at a cost, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Alignment asks better questions. Not, how can I make more? But, what does more allow me to become? Not, what's the fastest way to get rich? But, what's the truest path to feeling resourced? These questions don't just lead to more ethical decisions, they lead to more sustainable results. A man once built a 7-figure business doing work he secretly resented. Every milestone brought more pressure, not peace. When he finally walked away and started a business rooted in his actual values, he feared financial loss. Instead, he found traction faster, slept better, and made more, not because he hustled harder, but because he was finally in alignment. Alignment doesn't mean ease at every turn. It means clarity at every decision. It means trusting that the more you build your financial life around who you really are, the less you'll need to recover from your own success. You'll no longer have to choose between profit and peace, because alignment gives you both. The wealth alignment equation is simple: vision plus values, plus vocation, equals flow. When your vision for the future is clear, your values are honored, and your work reflects your design, money moves in the right direction. You stop leaking time and energy into things that look good but feel wrong. You become magnetic to the opportunities that fit you, not just tempt you. This also means redefining success. If your idea of wealth is borrowed from someone else's blueprint, you'll chase goals that don't satisfy you. But when you define wealth on your own terms, freedom, impact, creativity, rest, your strategy shifts. You start building a life, not just a business. A future, not just a fortune. It takes courage to choose alignment. Sometimes it means saying no to fast money in favor of sustainable meaning. Sometimes it means walking away from what's working on the surface to honor what's calling you deeper. But every act of alignment compounds. It builds momentum and makes room for the right things to grow. Money doesn't reward stress. It responds to clarity. The more aligned you are, the more decisions you make from truth instead of fear. The more truth you walk in, the more your wealth reflects who you are, not just what you can earn, but what you can hold, share, and sustain. Wealth is not just having more. It's becoming more of yourself. When your life and your money move in the same direction, everything changes. Not overnight, but inevitably. True wealth is alignment between money, values, and vision. Misalignment creates emotional and financial cost, even with high income. The more your finances reflect who you are, the more sustainable and satisfying your wealth becomes. Where in your financial life are you out of alignment, and what's the smallest step you can take to restore it? Choose one financial decision this week and run it through the filter of your values. Adjust it to reflect deeper alignment. Chapter 11: Think like money, live in flow. Money doesn't hustle. It doesn't panic, force, or chase. It moves. It circulates. It aligns. When you begin to think like money, fluid, purposeful, unapologetic, your entire relationship with wealth changes. You stop clutching, overcorrecting, or fearing the next dip in the market. You move into flow. Not because life becomes perfect, but because your perspective becomes powerful. Thinking like money means releasing control without releasing clarity. It means trusting that just as money flows in, it can flow back out, and then return again, stronger. It's the difference between managing from fear and modeling from alignment. The former shrinks your world. The latter expands it. Flow doesn't mean passivity. It means partnership. You and money are no longer adversaries. You are collaborators. Every belief you upgrade, every script you rewrite, every choice you make from truth instead of trauma, it all sends a signal. It says, I'm ready to receive, ready to circulate, ready to grow. And money responds. A woman once said she never felt safe with money. It came in, but she clung to it, terrified it would disappear. That tension kept her stuck. But when she began practicing flow, letting go of fear-based saving, giving freely when aligned, spending without shame, her income didn't just increase. Her peace did. She stopped controlling money and started cooperating with it. To live in flow is to trust yourself. To believe that your value isn't tied to your output, that your worth isn't proven by your paycheck, and that your potential isn't capped by your past. You realize that money is not the goal. It's a mirror. It reflects your inner landscape, how much clarity, safety, and purpose you allow yourself to hold. By now, you've uncovered the silent scripts, challenged the inherited fears, and built a new belief balance sheet. You've seen that self-worth drives net worth, that alignment is more powerful than hustle, and that wealth is as much about identity as it is about income. You've practiced shame-free spending and invested in inner income. All of this has been preparation, not just to make more, but to be more. Flow is not a moment. It's a mindset. It's what happens when you stop operating from scarcity and start modeling abundance. It's the frequency of calm action, grounded vision, and conscious choice. It's saying yes to what aligns and no to what drains, without guilt, fear, or apology. Thinking like money means remembering that wealth is expansive. It creates options, nourishes dreams, and fuels impact. It's not just for you, it flows through you. The more you grow, the more you can give. The more peace you hold, the more peace you pass on. This is the rhythm of abundance. And it starts with one decision: to live as if you are already enough. You don't need to chase worth. You already have it. Now your money gets to reflect that truth. Let this final truth anchor you. You are not here to control money. You are here to collaborate with it, to think like it, move like it, and live in the steady, expansive flow of trust. Thinking like money means living with clarity, trust, and intention. Flow is not passivity, it's powerful, aligned, cooperative movement. Your financial transformation begins when you stop chasing and start aligning. What belief, habit, or pattern do you need to release to fully live in financial flow? Choose one aligned action today, whether it's giving, investing, resting, or receiving, that reflects your decision to live in flow. Take care and be well.